Hello and welcome to the Sound of Science, the place where we deconstruct unscientific reasoning. Please consider to like and subscribe if you support science. Thanks for watching. Today we're going to break down another episode of the Atheist Experience. And hold on to your seats. This time we have a guy called Brandon who says he's going to prove the existence of a god. And he says this is going to be the best show ever if his call is taken. So let's watch this.
Brandon wants to present evidence of God and guarantees this will be the best show ever if his call is taken this time.
Wow. Wow. We're in awe, man. Go for it.
Well, I cede the floor.
Well, look at how Matt Dillahunty is casually positioning his hand against his cheek. Now, regular viewers of the Atheist Experience already know that that is body language for "you are going to be destroyed." So we are in this clip only a few seconds and we already know that we're in for a treat. Now, debating can be like a game of chess. You can choose a strategy and work step by step towards an end goal. And it looks as if that is what Brandon has in mind. The first step he wants to take is to make Matt Dillahunty say that Matt sometimes believes things on faith. So Brandon tries to set up a trap. Let's see what that trap looks like.
Let me ask you, if for example, I had buried $30 million worth of gold, and I approached you with the proposition that if you help me dig up this gold, which I've stamped to prove that it's my gold, it's got my name on it and all of that, and I guaranteed you that you were going to get 30% of the take for helping me dig it up, would you want me to draw up a contract to our agreement?
This is where Brandon hopes that Matt will say, "Oh, a contract is not needed, let's dig up the gold." In that case, Brandon could have said, "So you don't need a contract, you believe me based upon faith." Because when you can get Matt Dillahunty to say he takes things on faith, then you can say Matt is just the same as people who believe in a god, because they do that on faith too. Now let's see how Matt responds.
Would you want me to draw up a contract to our agreement?
Yes.
Now, why would you want me to draw up a contract?
Because it has legal protection in the case that you try to screw me on the deal after.
Oh boy, this is absolutely delicious. Matt, of course, saw the faith trap coming from miles away, so of course he's not going to fall for that. And mind you, this was just Brandon's opening bid. This was only the very first step of his strategy. God is not even part of the equation yet, and his plea is already falling flat. The question is now, is Brandon going to recover from this blow? So what is Brandon going to do? Let's listen to that.
You have no idea if I actually buried anything, so you'd kind of have to take my word on faith.
No, because the contract...
I actually buried...
No, I don't have to take your word on faith for anything. What's going to happen is, you're going to guarantee me payment of $10 million for digging X amount. It doesn't matter then whether or not you actually have gold, because I'm either getting my money or I'm going to take everything you've got, suing you afterwards for breach of contract.
Oh boy, Brandon is making this even worse now. Confronted with losing the first battle in the debate, he's now trying to move away from that position as quickly as possible. He's now changing the goalposts by saying Matt is on a much higher intellectual level than Brandon himself.
You're a smart business guy, and I would like to state that, intellectually, I think you absolutely dwarf me. If
well,
you and I
that doesn't matter.
I think you would absolutely have a higher IQ than I do.
Now that might sound like a compliment, but beware, because Brandon is now going to say that intellect is useless because he's got faith, scripture, Jesus or God or whatever unprovable, untestable or meaningless phenomenon on his side.
So, but
I don't care about IQ.
The one thing I've got on my side is actual wisdom being in the truth.
Now, since the whole faith issue is going nowhere, Matt and Don now ask Brandon to come up with some evidence for the existence of a God, because that was his promise in the first place. But yet again, Brandon moves the discussion back to Scripture. And the problem with Scripture, of course, is that it's just a bunch of claims. Like, there is a God, he created the universe in a couple of days, he drowned the population of the whole planet, stuff like that. If you want to prove those claims, you need other sources. You cannot prove the validity of a claim by referring to other claims that have not met their burden of proof yet. Anyways, Brandon perhaps thinks that circling back to Scripture might give him an advantage in the debate. But then, Don Baker interferes into the debate with a fatal blow. Let's watch Don in action.
The God that I'm trying to prove, why he put everything in writing, is so that the story can't change.
How do you know God put everything in writing?
And why did he need to amend it?
Well, as far as, the purpose of amending it is, ultimately in the Old Testament, well, I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna circle back around to that. So, but
I guarantee you're going to do a lot of circling.
Oh, that was a beautiful knockout, perfectly timed by Don Baker. And you'd think after a blow like this, there is no sensible way of coming back. However, Matt and Don still give Brandon another opportunity, because he called into the show by stating that he was going to prove the existence of a God, and that this would be the best episode of the show ever. But thus far, Brandon's story is a total nothing burger. And then, believe it or not, Brandon proceeds with an argument from authority. Really?
Well, let me start here. As far as, over 75% of all scholars and historians can agree that Jesus of Nazareth was a real person.
The percentage of people who believe that Jesus was real is irrelevant to whether or not he was real. And even if everybody believed that Jesus was a real person, that doesn't mean that we have evidence that he was divine or God.
Okay, well, and we do know that he was crucified.
Well, we know that the Bible claims that he was crucified. It's not like we have any evidence of a crucifixion outside of the Bible. Well, we don't even have any evidence.
Modern scholars
we don't
agree.
Brandon. Oh my God.
75% of scholars agree, and therefore it's true. It's so disappointing that theists, in so many cases, only apply the kind of arguments that the hosts of the Atheist Experience can dismiss in a split second. It would be so much more interesting if they would bring up a real argument or some real evidence for the existence of a God for a change.
I'm saying, for the purposes of this discussion right here, let's just pretend that I believe that Jesus existed and that he was crucified. Neither of those things, neither of those have any relevance, any bearing on whether or not there's a God.
Well, but he claimed that he was God, and that's why he was crucified.
So what? You've got to get to this a lot better than just starting with a parade of things that are irrelevant. What is the proof?
Okay.
The evidence that God exists.
That he did. The proof that he provided us to prove his claim that he was God is, number one, prophecy in the Bible.
So this is one of the key points that so many theists don't seem to be able to understand. The Bible doesn't prove the existence of God. It just claims it on every page. Just like the Fellowship of the Ring claims the existence of hobbits on every page. And when I ask you to prove the existence of hobbits, and then you say, well, on page 44 the hobbit clearly says, I do as I choose and I go as I please, therefore the hobbit must exist, for else he could not have spoken, then you're talking rubbish. A claim is not evidence. A claim needs evidence to be accepted. If you want to prove that a God exists, who is almighty and cares about us, then you'd have to set up an experiment to test that. And that experiment should call for an act that only an extremely powerful being could perform. For example, arrange for a live public TV show in which some preacher who speaks on behalf of humanity asks God to reveal himself by painting the moon pink on Saturday at 10 a.m. Or perhaps paint the moon in a rainbow pattern. I like that too. I mean, if God can create the universe in a couple of days, then how much time would it cost him to paint the moon? I can't imagine that painting the moon pink would cost God more than a few seconds of work. If God would do a couple of these tricks on our request, then humanity could end the whole discussion about the existence of God today. Of course, then we still wouldn't know if this would be the biblical God. Could be any one of the thousands of gods that man have been worshipping for the past thousands of years. Who knows, but if an experiment like that would succeed and show somehow that a God exists, we could then proceed to asking for some more substantial stuff like ending war and famine. You know, all the bad stuff that this God has been tolerating all these years. But if the moon is not painted pink on Saturday at 10 a.m., then either God doesn't exist or he doesn't care about what we want. Either way, God would be a pretty useless concept. But to sum it up, if you want to prove the existence of God, you need to perform an experiment that produces evidence that shows the existence of a God.
Well, I mean, if you, I'm just going to give you the elevator version.
Why don't you give us the best one?
Why don't you give us evidence? Because it says here that you're going to present evidence, and you presented nothing but claims. So present evidence. Do you even know what evidence is?
Yeah, let me get there. As far as, we do know scholars all agree that the book of Daniel...
Christ.
And of course, we're now getting to the stage where Matt is losing his patience. Yet again, he is confronted with another theist who only makes claims, doesn't provide any evidence, and dodges all the questions that could expose his fallacies. But luckily, there is still one gem to go, because this is the episode where Matt Dillahunty compares prophecy to ordering a steak medium rare.
If a book says, our future Messiah will do this, does that mean that later on, if somebody does that, that they are in fact the Messiah? So if I go in to a restaurant and I order a steak medium rare, and I get a steak that's medium rare, have I made a prediction and the waiter fulfilled prophecy?
Well, I mean, that's a prediction. That's something,
prophecy is a
and
prediction.
Are two different things.
No, they're not.
Things that are different.
No, they're not.
The same.
They're not the prophecy and prediction are synonyms. You are saying this is going to happen in the future, and then it happens.
Ordering a steak medium rare and then getting a steak medium rare is such a wonderful example to expose the ridiculous position of those who still use the alleged prophecies in the Bible as an argument in religious debates. The so-called prophecies in the Bible are usually extremely vague and can be interpreted as whatever suits you. And on top of that, Christians now have had centuries at their disposal to arrange for events that make it look as if prophecy is fulfilled. Just like the restaurant in Matt's example is working towards the fulfillment of the prophecy that a steak medium rare will be brought to Matt's table. I haven't seen one prophecy in the Bible that was so specific and so testable as the prophecy of ordering a steak medium rare, and that is so reliable in its outcome. I would say that if you order a steak medium rare in a restaurant that has steak medium rare on the menu, that prophecy will be fulfilled 99% of the time. Can the Bible produce anything like that?
God has not revealed himself to me, period, full stop.
Well, let me explain how he's done this, except you just don't see it yet.
Oh my God, Brandon.
And now, of course, we're getting very close to the point where Matt will hang up, because Brandon now basically resorts to telling Matt that he is not paying enough attention to see God. And that is pretty insulting to say to someone who dedicates his life to searching for evidence that could confirm the existence of a God. Matt Dillahunty has been engaged in hundreds, if not thousands, of public discussions about religion. And the main question he always asks theists is, show me your evidence. Telling Matt Dillahunty that he just doesn't see the evidence is beyond arrogant.
Well, I mean, have you ever, lost your glasses or something and they're just sitting right in front of your...
Goodbye.
I'm constantly disappointed about these folks that say, hey, I've got proof of God, and they come on and nothing.
So it's not really surprising that Matt hangs up on this guy. Really nothing useful comes out of his mouth. So this is an excellent example of nothing coming from something, for what it's worth. And I totally get the frustration that Don Baker expresses. All too often these theists crawl their way into the show by making some big and spectacular premise, and then of course it turns out to be hogwash. It would be so exciting if for once a theist would bring about an actual real argument or some real evidence that supports the existence of a god. I guess we'll have to remain patient and hope for the best. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next video.
We have a number of big problems here. One is that you believe everything in the Bible. Okay, so then...
Apostles are different from prophets.
No, Brandon.
As far as...
Brandon.
They set down doctrine.
Brandon.
Prophets tell
Shut
you
up!
future events.
So
Psalms
Brandon,
12,
we're done.
God made it
Brandon,
his.
Brandon,
You're a cartoon, man.
Brandon, we're done. You have a ridiculous position. You have a ridiculous
Now, hold on
position.
a second.
Here, no, I'm not holding on. You're holding on. You're on hold right now. I might bring you back. I might not.